Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 185. And today we're going to talk about so many things on my mind I want to talk about. Learning how to, one of the first things I want to talk about is learning how to control your emotions. When you learn how to control your emotions, everything else becomes less complicated. I think too many people get wrapped up in other people's issues, meaning that you start worrying about what the other person is doing, what they're gonna do, and all this other stuff, right? Which is okay to an extent, but when it starts consuming your day, when it starts consuming your everyday thoughts, that's when you're like, whoa, okay, something's going on here that shouldn't be going on, because you shouldn't be having this much influence over me, right? And a lot of that, it's tiresome, man. It's tiresome dealing with somebody like that. It's tiresome dealing with somebody who just can't ease up control, right? And that's the most frustrating thing for me personally in my professional and personal life, right? Like people who want to be in control, but they don't know how to be in control. And what I mean by that is like everybody wants somebody to listen to them, right? You know, I don't care who you are. You could be 5 years old or be 95 years old. It doesn't matter. But the difference is with a lot of people don't listen to don't listen to understand, they listen to respond. Like for me, 95% of the time I'm joking with somebody. That 5% of the time is like when I'm not joking with you is because it's a serious situation. And what's interesting too is that a lot of people will sit there and not understand what's how serious the issue is. Very rarely do you have an issue where it's that serious, it's the thoughts in your head that make it more serious than what it is. And what I mean by that is like when you think catastrophic thoughts, most likely or not, the catastrophic thing's gonna happen, and and that's because you can't control your emotions. That's because you're constantly, you're worried about shit that is happening in your head that most likely will never happen in reality, And then there's me, and I'm like, okay, if this shit happens, then we'll deal with it. I don't deal in hypotheticals. I don't deal with, with what could go wrong, whatever it is. I deal with what's in front of me. And what's in front of me is if what's in front of me is completely different, then I'm gonna act completely different. Like I don't understand how some people can sit there and just come up with these thoughts all day long. And I'm like, you're stressed out because you don't even have control of your own thoughts. You don't even have control of your own emotions. Right? And it took me a long time to figure that shit out myself. I didn't figure that out till like probably my early to mid 20s. Yeah. And what I realized is like, yo, I'm really stressing out over somebody, and most of the time it's mostly a girl, whatever it is, or it doesn't matter what the situation was. I'm over here stressing out at something or somebody that's not stressing out over me. So why are you tripping on that? And it's like, why are you giving energy to something that doesn't even deserve your energy, right? And it's interesting to me how people will automatically think the worst. You know, they'll come up with the most idiotic, ridiculous thoughts in their head, and they'll run with that. And I'm like, you realize that's not what happened, right? You realize what happened was it was just natural. You know, there was no other outside influence that influenced the outcome of this outcome. And I think a lot of people, when they stop and when they think about shit, it's like, especially after they're told, because people will tell you exactly what your red flags are with them or this and this and that. In reality, don't take defense to it, because it's like most of the time it's most likely true, but at the same time it's like, okay, we want to talk about red flags? Here's the shit that you do that I don't like. Here's the shit that you do that triggers me, you know? But I'm a really firm believer that your emotions is 100% your responsibility 100% of the time. I hate the fact when people be like, well, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that. Like, so-and-so didn't do shit to you. That's 100% on you. That's your inability to communicate what's going on in your fucking head, what's going on in your life, and how to convey that in a responsible, appropriate, adult way. A lot of people don't know how to do that. They'll quick to blame you. They're quick to be like, oh, well, I'm triggered. Okay, you ask somebody triggered. They don't fucking know. Or it's like, a lot of people will come to me and like they'll talk about their relationships, their issues, this and that. And these are guys people that they've been with, guys and girls, for years. And I'm like, no, after a certain period of time, it's your fault. You know, it's your fault because you recognize the signs and you stayed. Whether he or she was treating you good in the beginning or whatever it is, that's not the case now. Never believe what people tell you, believe what they show you. And when I say that to people, I'm like, oh, like what I'm about to say is gonna hurt your feelings, but you need to hear this. It's your fault. It's your fault for leaving and going back multiple times. It's your fault for giving them another opportunity to do the same shit again. For what? Like, what does that prove? Doesn't prove anything. All that proves is you're willing to give another opportunity for a person to hurt you again. Most likely in the same way. And granted, it's different because every situation is different. You know, like there's a difference between being malicious with your significant other and just being a jokester. Me, I'm a jokester. You know, it's like I'm gonna make you laugh. I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, but I'm gonna joke with you 95% of the time. And people get offended when I say that. I was like, they're like, what you mean it's my fault? I was like, dog, you're the one that wanted the relationship with him or her. You're the one that kept breaking it off and kept going back. You're the one that kept doing X, Y, and Z while this motherfucker wasn't reciprocating the same energy. So I ask you again, whose fault is it for staying? You know, and everybody wants to get defensive and everybody, you know, push this shit on social media. It's like, bro, nobody gives a fuck. Like, nobody cares. The only reason people care is because you're illuminating, you know, light to the situation. And that's another thing with me too. I don't broadcast my shit on social. I don't broadcast my relationships. I don't broadcast any issues going on. I don't do X, Y, and Z. Because to me, it doesn't make any point. Like, why would I invite strangers into my house? You know, it's like, there's one person I know, she had commented on her Facebook post, which was a mistake, by the way, multiple things. when her and her ex were going through a divorce or about to get divorced, and she found out a couple months before she filed for divorce that he was cheating on her, this and that. And then she was like, well, if he's cheating on me, best believe I'm gone. And like, and all the guys on Facebook were like, dude, take this shit off your page. Like, why are you inviting shit into your house? You know, you're over there making it known that this guy ain't shit. And most of us know that he wasn't shit to begin with, right? And we knew that. But she still felt the need to vent. She still felt the need to say something. And I'm like, why? You know the truth. People around you know the truth. There's no need for you, you know, to say that shit, because this wasn't the first time he done that shit. This is multiple times, right? So fast forward, 7 years later, they're already divorced, and she was saying something about like, oh, I really let him off easy because, you know, he hasn't paid child support, yada yada yada, boom 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 boom. And I'm like, again, why are you posting your issues on Facebook? Like, why are you doing that shit? Like, stop being so goddamn weak. You know, and when I say weak, I don't mean physically, I mean mentally. Because it's like, yo, it's like, you knew what it was. You knew what the situation was. You know? A lot of these women and men, they're single married parents. You know? And it's sad, it's pathetic, you know? That you can waste decades or years with somebody, or years or decades with somebody, and you know from the first year or two that this shit wasn't gonna last. And the way I look at things is like, okay, you know, it's simple. Learn to control your emotions. You know? Even I have my, you know, even I have my moments of weakness where I'm like, damn, okay, I really want to do X, Y, and Z, but you know, I'm a chill. I'm a chill because it doesn't, you know, me doing that, it doesn't help the situation. If anything, it makes it worse, right? You know, and the art of being subliminal is a beautiful thing, because you can say shit, you can post shit, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with you. You could just be speaking on a plethora of different issues, right, at the same time. But learning how to control your emotions, it's a beautiful thing, because once you do that, like, watch how your life becomes uncomplicated. You know, very rarely do people get that skill trait, or get that skill mastered, or get that skill to acquire that. It's like, if you control your emotions 95% of the time, you control every single part of the situation. It's like, take for instance, you know, somebody wants to lose weight, right? So they, you know, they do all the fads, all the fad diets, all the crash diets, all that shit. And then they're like, yo, how come, you know, how come this shit doesn't, you know, how come it doesn't last, this and this and that? Because I'm like, and then there's me, you know, former competitive bodybuilder, a guy who lives a healthy-ish lifestyle. It's like, because what you're doing is not sustainable. Because what you're doing, you know, it doesn't suit an active lifestyle. Like, you know, it's like, you know, you have to be able to have the ability to understand that there's a reason why a lot of diets don't work, because you can't translate that into everyday life. And I'm not saying don't go out there and get that cheeseburger. I'm not saying don't go out there and get that fry. I'm not saying don't go out there and get that fucking Sunday ice cream, because, yo, why not, right? But what I'm saying is that learn your body first, you know, and don't be so concerned with how you look on the scale, but versus how you look in the mirror. And again, it goes back to controlling your emotions. Because there's gonna be a lot of people who try to talk you out of your shit. There's gonna be a lot of people who try to do X, Y, and Z. There's gonna be a lot of people who try to sabotage you simply because they can't see you. They can't stand the fact that you're making the changes, that you need to make. Now, a lot of these times, these ain't fucking strangers. These are family, close friends, significant others. Hell, it could even be your kids. To a point, right? A lot of the time, those 4 people, or 3 people, I should say, it's because they can't see the fact that you're making changes, positive changes, and they're still stuck in the same place. It's the same thing with relationships. Never ever go to a single person who one of your friends is single and ask them for advice on what they do in their relationship. Never do that. I'm gonna tell you why. Because number one, misery loves company. Now, there's a difference between you venting to your friends and then you asking them their opinion about it. Because I've been in situations, because majority of my life I've been single. I've always been a single cat, right? I mean, it's not like I haven't had a chance to have relationships, but like some were cool. I'm like, okay, whatever, And then some ladies, I'm like, yeah, we better off as acquaintances because we're not gonna mesh for whatever reason, right? And a lot of the times, people will take their advice of their single friend and not realize that their single friend is actually wanting them to be miserable as well. Everybody talks about red flag this, red flag that. In reality, most of the time, it's not your significant other who's a red flag. It's you inviting other people into the circle, the two-handed circle. And I've said this before. That two-handed circle between your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your wife, whatever, your fiance, whatever title that y'all have. That's extremely important. You never, ever invite somebody else into a two-handed circle. Like, whatever issues or whatever thoughts you have going on, keep that shit to yourself. Because the worst thing you can do is to go to somebody who is fucking miserable all the goddamn time and ask them and tell them about what the fuck you have going on. Because a lot of the times, it has nothing to do with them. Like, they'll call it a red flag, but in reality, like, they're in the back cheering for this shit not to work out. They're in the back cheering for this shit, cheering for it because, oh yeah, well, like my girl this, my boy this, boom, 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 boom. But in reality, they're the ones plotting for you. In reality, they're the ones putting the seeds of doubts into your mind. In reality, like, they're the ones doing all this shit because they can't stand the fact that you're happy and they're not. And it stems from insecurity and lack of confidence and just overall, very, very low self-esteem. And we've all been there, It has really nothing to do with your physical appearance. I mean, physical appearance does play a role because it's always interesting to me, like I said, as a competitive bodybuilder or bodybuilder in general, how people will critique my physical disability. And I'm like, yo, you 300 fucking pounds, bro. Like, you're damn near medically obese. You're 5 foot, 5 foot whatever. You're 300 fucking plus pounds. How you gonna tell me about a healthy lifestyle and, and motherfucker, you don't even know where to start. Like, how can you do that? Like, how can you sit there and critique somebody else when you don't even have the gumption or the mental fortitude to stick to a diet or to make those healthy changes? It all comes back to controlling your emotions. Because if you want to do better, it starts up here. No, I'm not saying that you got to be, shredded to the bone or whatever it is, because you don't, competitive bodybuilding and bodybuilding itself is two different things, and I tackled that in the last podcast episode. But what's unfortunate to me is that everybody else has a fucking opinion of how you should be doing things and how, shit should be done. In reality, once you work in your own house, why are you so worried about what's going on over here? Like, why are you so worried about what, so-and-so is doing or what X, Y, and Z is doing, huh? And it's like, okay, you're worried about that. But in reality, you can't even get up the courage to make the lifestyle changes, or you can't even get up the courage to step outside your comfort zone. Or like every time you see a friend, making positive strides, you want to sabotage that. Or every time that a friend, has good news, you want to, be a Debbie Downer or some shit, right? I read something yesterday that I posted. It said something about friendships and learning how to downgrade them to friendly acquaintances. And it's true. A lot of people have quote unquote friends who are basically friendly acquaintances, and bro, that's me. I tell my girlfriend all the time, like, baby, I don't have a lot of friends. She's like, what? But you know a lot of people. Like, yeah, just because I'm friendly with them doesn't mean they're friends. Or just because they have my number, doesn't mean that we friends, Like, I'm the type of dude that's like, yeah, I can be friendly with you, but that's it, I'm not going to sit there and like, and put in more effort than what you're putting in. I'm not going to sit there and put in more effort into a situation that doesn't reciprocate the same energy. I'm not going to do all that. Like, I'm never going to be like, yeah, oh, so-and-so is my friend, or so-and-so this and that. But when I call them, I can't get a call back. Or when I text them, I don't get a text back. Now, I'm not saying that everybody got to be available 24/7, because it's physically impossible, because we're all grown, we all have lives and X, Y, and Z, right? I'm not saying all that, But I'm saying is like, we all got numbers in our phones that they're basically ghosts, right? Think about it. Think about all the numbers in your phone that you can call that won't call you back. But when they need something, you the first motherfucker they call. It's not hard to figure out. Think about it. But then it goes back to controlling your emotions. And once you do that, you realize how uncomplicated your life will be. What's interesting to me is when people that I run into from high school, when I graduated almost 20 years ago, right? They want to say all this shit, do all this shit. And I'm like, no, okay, that version of me is no longer here. Whatever you have going on, whatever you think you know, you have to re-meet me. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand that the 36-year-old version of Mikey is a lot different than the 14, 15-year-old version of Mikey. Or the 16th version of Mikey, 17-year-old version of Mikey, 18-year-old version of Mikey. That kid's no longer here. Who's standing in front of you is a grown fucking man. Who's opinionated, who's everything else, who's accomplished in his own right. And it's like, once you find that, once you're able to find that version of you that is, how do I put it? It's authentic. Keep that, because there's a lot of people out there, man, who are gonna try to misuse you and abuse you simply because they think they can. In reality, nah. Nobody can do that. Don't let anybody else, you know, put you in a situation where you can't control it. And what it comes back to is controlling your emotions. It's simple. When I don't want to argue with somebody, whether it's my girlfriend, my mom, my cousins, my aunts, whatever, I just simply say, you know what, you're right. I ain't gonna argue with you. You're right. Because that's my way, in a polite way, saying like, you know what, okay, cool. I'm done talking about this. You know, there's no point for us to keep going back and forth in a situation that doesn't solve anything. It doesn't do me any good to bring this shit up, and it doesn't do you any good to keep bringing this shit up. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just remove myself from the situation, and I'm gonna act accordingly. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and try to nail in my point. I'm not gonna sit here and engage with you back and forth because there's no point. Like, what do I look like engaging with somebody who doesn't use logic? You know, it's like talking to a Trump supporter, you know, who doesn't want to look at the facts, but yet wants to use facts against Harris because it's beneficial for them. But they won't see the same facts for Trump. Like, you know what, bro? You know what, sis? You're right. Have a good day. And the quote Keanu Reeves, when he said, if somebody tells me 2 + 2 is 5, hey, bro, have a wonderful day. That's all I got, man. All right, y'all. This is about 27 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping the 4 P's. Private player, positive pushing. I'll see y'all next week Sunday. I love y'all. Ghosts. And like I always say, know your worth because you're better than what you are. Peace.